All right, let's begin, and we can start from the Salman Samir from Universitas Hasanuddin, which present about paper and the title of the impact of pandemic COVID-19, potential for lockdown and its implementation in Makassar. So, Bapak Salman Samir, the time is yours.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to present our study. I am Salman Samir from Hasanuddin University and log of Celebes Makassar, together with Muhammad Afif Sallatu from Cenci University and log of Celebes Makassar, and then Randi Kurniawan from Hasanuddin University, and then log of Celebes Makassar. We will deliver our paper talking about the impact of the COVID-19, potential for lockdown and its implementation in Makassar. Why Makassar? Because from the total COVID infection case in South Sulawesi, there is 65.5% located in Makassar. In addition, the death rate caused COVID-19 in Makassar also dominating in South Sulawesi with 85.7%. The reason the COVID-19 case continue to increase because Makassar is the center of economic activity in South Sulawesi, where the mobility of population in and out in Makassar is very high. Specific in several districts in Makassar, 3 districts that had a high concentration cases, especially in densely populated districts such as Tamalate, Rapocini, and Panakukang. Okay, because the government or specific local government previous experience in dealing with pandemics, and the end there is a dilemma in decision. From the survey results in log of Celebes Makassar, there are also many people who want a lockdown. Now, due to the existing dilemma, we feel the need to provide an academic view how the impact of the lockdown policy on the economy and when not the lockdown. If implement a social safety net must be prepared. And then the question then is, what about Makassar fiscal capacity? Several studies about this impact COVID-19 on economic growth and the production sector. Del Rio Senano et al. Estimate the impact COVID-19 on the value added of production in US. The results show that 25% of the value added of production has decreased. And then the slowdown of the economy due to the COVID pandemic at the end has caused a crisis for households in several developing countries, especially the poor and those working in the informal sectors. The study of Yumna, Arpianto, and Luhur Bima emphasizes the importance of social safety net program directed to the groups most affected by the pandemic quickly. And then Bonasori et al. Saw that lockdown has both social costs and constraint for government fiscal. The fiscal capacity problem in some developing countries is caused by low natural resource revenue and the inability to issue more government bonds. This is study IRSA and Nguyen, and then Arellano et al. Okay, scope this study. The number one scenario, physical distancing versus lockdown, aspect affected sector, economic growth, and the lost economic opportunity. And the second scope needs social safety net and fiscal capacity, aspects as whole group in the bottom 40%, informal workers in affected sector, and the beneficial government fiscal space. Then policy recommendation and implementation, aspect support for study on lockdown, not or policy effectively implementation recommendation. This objective study, the first objective study, the expected effect of a lockdown policy due to COVID-19 pandemic on economic growth. And the second objective study, the amount of social safety net need of the lockdown policy is implemented. And the objective study, potential reallocation of Makassar government budget needed for covering social safety net. Okay, the economy of Makassar, I will describe the economy of Makassar according to the data. Over the past 5 years, Makassar economic growth has increased consistently. In 2019, Makassar annual economic growth reached 8.7%, higher than the previous year's achievement of 8.4%, and the highest growth since 2015. Economic growth over the past 5 years averaged 8.20%, above the average for South Sulawesi 7.60%, and the national level 5%. In the general, this performance show that Makassar economy remains solid, considering that at the same time the economic growth of Sulawesi and the national level is experiencing a slowing trend. Meanwhile, in the term of contribution to regional economy of South Sulawesi, Makassar in the last 5 years was the largest compared to other districts in the province, with an average 24.3%. In 2015, Makassar contribution to gross regional domestic product of South Sulawesi was 33.6%, increasing to 35.3% in 2019. This figure saw that more than a third of the economy in South Sulawesi was contributed by Makassar. Yeah, this cannot be separate from the economy base of Makassar, which a lot and broad value added, such as wholesale and retail trade sectors, the manufacturing sector, the construction sector, the information and communication sector, and then education service sectors. Okay, the economy of Makassar contribute to gross regional domestic product of Makassar by sector. In the last 5 years, there have been 5 sectors that have contributed greatly to Makassar economy, including manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade, construction, information and communication, and education. Manufacturing sector contribute to GDP in Makassar average of 90.9%, and then the wholesale and retail trade sector contribute to GDP average 90.3%, and the two business the flash and roll Makassar GDP is construction. The average contribution of the business to GDP is 70.5%. For simulation method and procedure, impact of COVID-19 on economic growth, the correlation between growth in the 6 business sector and economic growth is estimated by the following model or LS model. Dependent variable is the model is GDP, and dependent variable in the model GDP, and independent variable, this is wholesale in retail trade, manufacturing sector, construction sector, accommodation and food service sector, and business activity sector. The model can estimate using time series data from 2010 until 2019 with obtained from BPS publication. In estimating, we interpret the annual data into quarterly. This is done to solve the problem of relatively short data series. For simulation method and procedure about social safety net needed, we estimate the amount for a social safety net with the implementation of lockdown. This study defined the group that should obtain social assistance is that the lowest 40% of household based on per capita expenditure. Then there are several steps in estimating the amount of social safety net. Number one, we identify the number of households in the bottom 40% based on per capita expenditure. And number two, we calculate average consumption expenditure per capita of household in the bottom 40%, but for food and non-food expenditure. And then we calculate fiscal capacity of regional government for the rule FC equal RA minus DUI plus MS. The result of OLS model, look at the tables, the elasticity of the business sector to total GDP. The sector manufacturing average elasticity 0.7%, and the sector construction, the average elasticity to total GDP 1.05%, and the wholesale and retail trade average elasticity for the total GDP 1.21%, and then transportation and storage sector average elasticity 0.89%, and accommodation and food service activity average elasticity 1.04%, and business activity elasticity 1.01%. And impact COVID-19 growth, the scenario lockdown, economic growth change minus 3.5%, and scenario without lockdown, economic growth change minus 5.7%. For the result about estimate social safety net, this assumption based on study from Surhadi et al. 2020, which find that the coefficient correlation between economic growth and average household consumption is 1.4 percentage point. Because the social assistance only cover 15% of household expenditure per capita, then the average of social assistance value for household per capita is estimated for food and non-food, and for food only. The study estimate the total amount of social safety net for bottom 45 in Makassar between 40.5 billion per month for 74.7 billion per month for food and non-food. in order to identify the available space for budget reallocation and fiscal capacity, the budget screening was conducted in two phases. The first phase is screening at the number of department or unit according to the local regulation Perda number 8 2016 regarding formation and composition of regional apparatus. The government of Makassar is comprised by 50 department or unit. Specifically, the selection based on the review of several documents of the government of Makassar, which number 1, minimum service standard, policy direction of regional long-term planning of Makassar, and South Sulawesi province priority. The first phase of the screening result that are 40 department or unit which shall be maintained the budget, then the remaining 36 department or unit are available to be reallocated the budget. List of excluded department or unit to be screened, name of department unit, education, health, special planning, public construction, housing and residential area, regional security, fire factors, regional disaster management agency, social transportation, environment, cultural, and then regional financial and asset management agency, fisher and agriculture. And the result, the second phase is screening on the number activity on the 36 department units. Specifically, there are total activity identified in this 36 department or unit with total budget 90 billion. For conclusion, several conclusions, however, can be drawn for the analysis. The first conclusion, lockdown option in Makassar will probably impact the economic growth, decreasing into 3.4% point. Although without lockdown policy, the economic growth in Makassar will probably contracted into 5.7% point. The second conclusion, to be able to implement a lockdown policy, a strong social safety net program should be implemented. And then the three conclusion, observing the Makassar government fiscal capacity, there is a possibility that the city government could afford to fully implement a strong social safety net program, providing both food and non-food assistance. Thank you for the time.
Lovely, lovely. Sorry, Pak Salman, can you bring the camera closer? Because we can look into your face clearly.
Sorry.
And yeah, to make it look clearly and see clearly how handsome you is. Okay, any question, participant? Please raise your hand or chat into the box. This is a very interesting topic. Anyone? Because if you look at the data before, Makassar is very superior in terms of gross regional domestic product 5 years in a row, especially in wholesale and retail trade. This is like some football leagues, they are dominated by 1 or 2 clubs in 5 years. And yeah, in also an interest fact that the no lockdown scam has more minus, rather than the lockdown scams. Yeah, it's really, really interesting topic. Anyway, okay, participant, go on. If you have any question or something to say for this amazing presenter of Salman. Okay, we've all seen how this pandemic is rubbing all things economic based. It's not only in Makassar, but also in Indonesia and overseas. Mr. Salman, maybe you can convey the potential for further research, sir. Because I think there is many researchers out there that have been, thinking about how to create some potential research for your research, actually. Go on, Mr. Salman, the future research for your theme. Mr. Salman. Oh, all right. Before ask my question. Okay, Bapak Joy Eli, go on.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I just would like to ask Mr. Salman regarding the pandemic situation in Makassar about your research. I'd like to know regarding the limitation. So whether the limitation from your research, and then for the further research, like as the moderator said, so for any important thing for the other research in the future. Yes, the contribution. I mean, what the main contribution on your paper for the others. Yes. I think your paper is very good paper from Makassar. So we can know the insight from other city, especially from us in Manado. Manado and Makassar is not too far, but Makassar is very big cities compared to Manado. So perhaps we can use your method, but I want to know the main contributions so we can see in the future research. Thank you.
Okay. The model OLS, we interpolate the annual data into quarterly. Maybe the data is very shortly, and to solve the problem, I do interpolate the annual data into quarterly. Maybe the result of estimation with bias because the shorty data series. And for this contribution, maybe the lockdown option in Makassar probably did impact the economic growth, but impact without lockdown policy more than lebih besar dibandingkan misalnya tidak melakukan lockdown.
Thank you for your answer, but we still have a problem with the term of lockdown, PSBB, PPKM, what the last name, PPKM. Okay, so but do you mean the lockdown here like the PSBB or PPKM? It's something the same thing, or lockdown like in Europe or in Australia? They said lockdown because all the people cannot going outside from the house. So the same term, because we using in Indonesia, we using the term PPKM now at the moment.
Okay. Maybe Bapak Afif, you can help to answer it as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ali.
Okay.
I may try to join the discussion. So basically, thank you very much also for Pak Joy Eli for the questions, also with the moderator, Pak Aldi. So basically, if we talk again about this research, so it starts from our curiosity from the government policy. As we know, starting March 2020, when the pandemic COVID-19 entering Indonesia, most of the region in Indonesia start to panic and then some of them try to rapidly using several and some policy restriction policy, but some other region may is a bit too late. For example, a bit too late to do something that can be significantly prevent the region from the significant increasing for the cases. So then at that time, we try to make an evidence between whether the government in Makassar, for example, for the specific case, whether the government in Makassar can use lockdown. We practically use lockdown, even though that we know Indonesia it's not available. It's not allowed. The central government's not allow us to use the lockdown. But we just want to make an evidence. If we choose lockdown, that we know in many countries it's already become a best practice to significantly stop the increasing cases in terms of the pandemic. So we just want to make sure that why we don't take the lockdown. I mean, even though that the central government can allow us to use the lockdown, we can use at least strict PSBB at the time. We can use a strict PSBB at the time, but government still very late to try even try to calculate whether we use strict PSBB, for example, or not using PSBB. So we from Log of Celebes, we try to make evidence as soon as possible. We just make a quick estimation. So there's a lot of limitation that we can convey, of course, but we just want to make sure that at least our policy should be based on the data, not from curiosity, because we are very I don't know how to mention about our feeling when we see the government is so late to choose whether policy using the PSBB or not. So basically that is the reason. So the main contribution, actually, we just want to make a basis for the policy, because most of expertise in Makassar at the time, it's not one. They don't want to, for example, provide specific basis, so then government can use. So we try to provide that. So that is the basic, the main contribution. But of course, it's very contextually, because at the time when we do the research, the study, it's because it is the beginning of the pandemic. Right now, I think it's not really relevant whether we want to use the lockdown or not, because it's already almost a couple years even. Maybe that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Afif.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry to bother you all, but yeah, we have next presenter. Anyway, keep applause for the Mr. Salman and team. Applauding. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Looking forward to the next amazing presenters, which is Mr. Joy Tulung. Okay. This is your time. Go on, Joy Tulung.
Thank you very much, Pak Aldi. I will share my.
Do you want to share screen or something? Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I will present our book chapter with the title Survival of MSMEs Manado During COVID-19 Pandemic. So first of all, I would like to thank you to the IRSA for accept our article for publish in the book chapter in 2020. So why we chosen Manado? Yes, for me, because we are in Samratulangi University, we live at Manado City. So I think we have to make some contribution for our region regarding this pandemic, and then we choosing Manado for our city, and regarding the MSMEs. Okay, so as we know, let's skip this one. So we know the term of micro, small, medium enterprises. So as we know, since in most 20 years ago, if we see in the next slide here, in 1997 and 1998, MSMEs is very strong. So then today now. So when the crisis in 1997, MSMEs can avoid the crisis, and then they can still hold, and then now still live till at the moment now. So if we see the BPS data from economic census in 2010, and during that crisis in 1997-1998, both the number of MSMEs and the number of their work did decline. So there are about 57.8 million actors of MSMEs in Indonesia, and now we know is increasing till 90.97% is MSMEs. So we know MSMEs have an important and strategic role in national economic development, so such as also in Manado. Next, if we see in Indonesia from 2018, so this is the last information from Kemenkop and UKM in 2020. The percentage of SMEs still dominant in Indonesia is 97%. So and the large enterprise just 3%. But if we see the share, okay, sorry. If we see the share here, the percentage is not too much. The differences is not too much here. So that's mean even though the MSMEs is very large part, but the share is not too much in our country. And the number is increasing since 2010 till now. You can skip this one. Okay, so we choose this is the data from our city in Manado in 1,000 firms. So as I told before, Manado is chosen the case from our study here represent a medium city in Indonesia. So not like Makassar is the biggest city in Celebes in Sulawesi. Manado is represent a medium city in Indonesia, and one of the most important city in eastern part of Indonesia. So we know Makassar is the biggest one, and then the Manado is the medium one. But Manado is one of the most important city beside Makassar for the eastern part of Indonesia, where the MSMEs have been rapidly growing in 5 years period. Okay, then the spread of COVID-19 in Manado, perhaps 2 weeks after in Jakarta, we detect the government of North Sulawesi detected the first COVID-19 in North Sulawesi, and then until our last collecting data in 30 September 2020, the total cases in COVID-19 in North Sulawesi reached 4,487 positive people, and 176 from them was died. And about half of these cases or as much almost 50% the casualties in Manado, in North Sulawesi. So we see the spread in the table 2, the epidemiological condition and COVID-19 in North Sulawesi as 30 September. So if we see here, Manado is the biggest one, and following them from Minahasa, Tomohon, Bitung, and etc. Okay, and we take 100 respondent here. So the first part of our questionnaire is about the owner characteristic. So we take the gender, age, and the revenue per month. And in the result, in following table, the table 4, we can see that the 55% of the respondent are female. So are male, sorry, are male, and then the rest is the female. And then regarding the age, 60% is 36 to 40 years old, and 40% is less than 40 years old. And regarding the revenue, we divide 3 parts here. The first part is 3 till 5 million is 32 respondent, 6 to 10 million is 53 respondent, and more than 10 million is 15 respondent. Okay. And the second section of our questionnaire is related to product excellence, the process reliability, innovation, technology solution, the firm performance, and then the financial performance. And the question, we see here the several questions here, such as regarding the quality of the product, the process, the innovation, adopting technology, the performance of the MSMEs, and then the financial condition of the MSMEs in good condition for the existence of the business. So this is the sample of the question. And yes, this is the result of our survey from our respondent. So most of them answer agree and strongly agree. So if we see in the left part is the first question regarding the importance of product quality, and the second part is the importance of the product processing quality, the importance of innovation, technology adaptation, then important the cash flow and the financial condition. Most of the respondent answer 4 and 5. 4 and 5, it means agree and strongly agree. And this is the result from our the correlation between the owner characteristic here. So that this table 5 show us the result from our observation. Our observation here in general, the opinion from the respondent says the importance of the product quality, the processing, the innovation and technology innovation does not correlated with the owners. The owners, the genders, and the monthly revenue, except for the case of product quality. So that means the male owner seems to be more concerned about the product quality as an important factor to survive during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this table 6 shows the indicated in the table 6, the only those who believe that what is we said the importance of the innovation to survive during the COVID pandemic. So the digitalization, so the MSMEs digitalization. So they think that the cash flow and the financial condition during the pandemic does not matter, comparing with the innovation of technology. As we said, that the digitalization UMKM in Indonesia terms. So this indicated the importance of innovation compared the product quality, processing quality, and technology adaptation. Okay, so the final remarks for our finding. So just like in other parts in Indonesia, so the COVID-19 pandemic also occurred in Indonesia, and the result is considerable, the size of people infected. So by using this Manado as the case study, this chapter investigated the factor considered important by MSMEs owners in order to survive during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this situation in Manado could be a good case study to be learned by other medium city in Indonesia. So we have in the future, we have to compare with the others medium city, particularly in Indonesia. And the city of Manado has also been severely affected by the COVID-19, as I said before. And then now in January is already increasing from when we stop our collecting data is for more than 4,000, and then now in 2021 is more than 7,445 positive, and then now in July already increased 50%, more than 50,000. So in the second wave, it's more increased to 50,000 positive, affected positive. Okay, so the most important note in our finding here, so that support the importance of innovation does not significantly agree that cash flow and financial condition is the final determinant to survive. So this finding also indicate that the thinking having innovation is more important. So innovation is digitalization is more important than the others for surviving. So for MSMEs in Manado will survive. So in further research, we hope we still need to confirm this argument. So this argument still debatable for me, for our finding. So, okay, thank you for your attention, and we open for discussion. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, brilliant, Mr. Joy Eli. You clearly for, I'm just, something like adoption of technology is a solution to help the condition in SMEs, and then women appears to be superiors rather than men on several variables. That's a unique finding, I think. And yeah, it's amazing research, by the way. And any question, participant, or Mr. Joy Eli and colleagues? You can tell anything about your research? Okay. Anyone? Oh, all right. Now, Taming. Go on, Pak Afif.
Okay, I just want to join the discussion. Maybe just curious, is there any specific analysis for the research? I mean, you mentioned about the determinant factor for the survival I don't know, survival or survivability of the MSMEs in Manado. But is there any differences for example, for each level? I mean, for micro, for small and medium enterprises in Manado, is there any differences regarding the results, or is there any specific analysis in terms to find the differences between each level? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Afif. Yes, this is our limitation. So we just using the survey analysis. So we just take a survey and then we see the result and then we make those analyses. So yes, you're right. In the future, we have to make a classification whether the micro, the medium, and micro, medium, and small. Micro, small, and medium. So we have to make classification. But if we see our data here, the respondent is most of them is below the small enterprises. So that means of micro, because a lot of them from the small restaurant, or perhaps the student, the fresh graduate who open the restaurant, and also they sell souvenir, something like that. So it's more be the micro enterprises.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there is chat box from Lydia Wambrau, Mr. Pak Joy. Mr. Pak Joy. Okay, Pak Joy, what is the North Sulawesi government strategies to minimize the impact of COVID-19 for MSMEs, as they are the sectors that most affected by pandemic? Okay, that's the first question. And then the next question, do SMEs running by female experiences greater difficulties than male during the pandemic, or just the same? Yeah.
Okay, regarding the first question, the North Sulawesi strategy to minimize here, I think at the moment they using term like PPKM, yeah, PPKM micro, something like that. So they make minimize people to going outside, but before that, before they use the PPKM term, beginning in December, and I don't know, in beginning December or before December, because we have Pilkada, something like that, election. So they opening. So before the Pilkada, the government opening the people to going outside, and then after the Pilkada, they close again. They made more strict. So after that, they more strict for for minimize the impact of COVID-19. So most of the government official building was closed, and perhaps 25 till 50% essential business is open, and 25% from government in North Sulawesi was going to office. Then 75% official government was work from home. So that letter of circulation from our government, North Sulawesi governor, said 75% ASN have to work from home. And then beginning last week ago, the church, the mosque, was closed for 2 till 3 weeks. So I think this the strategy. They following the strategy from the central government, because government still don't know yet how to minimize the impact, because in other hand they have to make the MSMEs live. So they something confused in the first part and the first stake, and then the second wage. Now we have to close again, because if they close to economic, a lot of a lot of unemployment will increase, I think. But this is the difficult situation, you know, and something like the first author says about the lockdown. We think the same, whether the lockdown is better for us, but almost all the MSMEs will close, I think, especially in the region, because we don't have a digitalization at the moment. And the second question about the female experiencing retail, we not make that we don't find in that question. But if we see the male is more friendly with digitalization, I think, at the moment, compared than the female. But in millennial or the millennial age, I think the female and male is more same regarding the digitalization. So they will experiencing the same thing with how to avoid or how to experiencing with the pandemic now. I think that's it for me. Perhaps moderator can add something, or
Yep. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. On the one hand, you know, SME certainly had PKKM, darurat, PKKM micro, or everything you say. And however, according to Mr. Salma and colleagues, research finding that the PKKM scheme will make minus growth better. So, you know, it's like dilemma. It's like paradox. Any question for the last?
I think it's not a paradox, Aldi, but in our article we mentioned that we may will experience the negative slope. I don't know how to mention the significant negative slope for 1 month, but the turn back is quite better than we don't take any strict action at the time. Maybe that's some of the point. Thank you.
There is so many autonomous variable, something like that. All right. Yeah, full of limits, and yeah, we need some further research, maybe collaboration between Manado and Makassar, something like that. Yep. Great. Thank you. Anyway, we get a lot of new things about research, especially in Sulawesi this afternoon. I will say the results, the research from Mr. Salman and colleagues, that we can see at the data, Makassar is very superior in terms of gross regional domestic product, and then about the wholesale and retail trade. And then it's an interesting fact that the no lockdown scheme has more minus than the lockdown schemes. And then, yeah, I think this seems to answer of the research question to look at the Indonesian population, I think, or representation, because every region has its, own obstacle or something like that. Maybe if we can, make a new scheme for example, Jakarta for the Java representative, Medan for the Sumatra representative, Makassar for the Sulawesi representative. It's very rich, finding, I think it also will be more interesting. And then next, Mr. Joy Ellie and colleagues about the adoption of the technology, and then the woman appear to be superior than the men, and on several variables, also in autonomous variable or something like that. And then whether to conduct research with a broader subject, as Papa Alif suggests, according, for example, Makassar, Manado, and surroundings with each category like micro, small, and medium enterprises. And so yeah, this is the final meeting, I think, and we will like to thank the presenters and the participants as well till now. That anyway, IRSA will be continue until tomorrow. So don't be late or miss the closing ceremony, and something like that. And I am Aldi from Universitas Muhammadiyah Ponorogo. Thank again for the commit, and then for the presenters, and we hope can meet again, I think, and make us some amazing collaboration with the Java and then the Sulawesi sites. And I think we can, presenting to the IRSA in 2022. So thank you so much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.